My name is Calvin Draper. I'm 34 years old now, a doctor at Toma Healthcare in Tennessee. I live in a quiet town where the hills roll endlessly and the sunsets look as though someone set the whole horizon ablaze. Toma isn't the kind of place that makes headlines. It has old oak trees bowing over streets, small cafes where the barista knows not just your order but your mood, and a silence at night that feels like safety. It is where I found purpose. It is also where I lost the most important person in my life. That morning, sunlight poured through my apartment window, laying long golden stripes across the floorboards. I was scrolling absently on my phone, not looking for anything, when a Facebook notification buzzed. It was a memory, a photo, and in an instant, my chest tightened. It was me and my grandmother, Hazel Draper, at Atlanta Airport. I was just 18, lanky, with hair too messy for the occasion. She was petite, with her snow-white hair pinned neatly, her smile soft and unshakable. She had her arm around me, and I was holding her tightly like I never wanted to let go. That photo wasn't just a memory. It was the doorway to the day that changed everything for me. The day I stopped believing my family was what I thought it was. 16 years have passed, but the wound it left still bleeds when I think about it. I closed my eyes, but the past rushed in anyway, like waves dragging me under. I told myself long ago that if I ever shared this story, it wouldn't be to accuse or to beg sympathy. It would be to face a question that even I still fear to confront. What does family truly mean? I was born in Greenville, South Carolina, a place with a pulse of industry and constant movement. My father, Gordon Draper, was an engineer, the kind who spoke more to blueprints than to people. My mother, Janelle, was an accountant, always lost in numbers. They were functional people, efficient, and to the outside world, a perfectly stable couple. But to me, our house was cold. Not physically, no, the thermostat worked fine, but emotionally. Conversations were transactional. Meals were silent except for the clink of forks. "How were your finals, Calvin?" my mother would ask. "What's your class rank this semester?" my father might add. I answered, knowing they weren't listening for the details. They wanted numbers, results, measurable achievements. Nothing more. But every summer, salvation came in the form of a bus ticket. Because every summer I was sent to Toma, Tennessee, to Hazel. My grandmother's house sat on the outskirts of town. A simple wooden home with a porch spilling over with flowers. Marigolds, her favorite, stood proudly at the edges of her little garden, blazing yellow even in July heat. She tended them with the same devotion she gave to people. Hazel had been a nurse for decades, raising my father and his sister Paula alone after divorcing my grandfather. She was tough in the quiet way only some people are, the kind of toughness that doesn't announce itself but carries everyone else on its shoulders. She had worked nights, missed meals, stitched wounds in hospital corridors, and sat with patients through storms of fever and pain. She rarely spoke about the hardships, but sometimes when she thought I wasn't looking, I'd see her at the window, tracing her finger along the edge of a family photo. In that frame, my father, Aunt Paula, and me. She never said it, but I could feel it. She loved them, but they had left her. My father was busy with his engineering career. Paula had married Leon Mallister, a wealthy real estate man, and moved into a comfortable life in Georgia. They called sometimes. Holidays, maybe birthdays. But they rarely visited. Hazel never complained. She kept the house warm with smells of cookies and fresh bread. She'd welcome me every summer with a hug that nearly crushed my ribs. "Calvin, you're growing so fast I can't keep up." She'd laugh, her eyes sparkling. In her house, I felt alive. She taught me to bake, to pull weeds from her garden, to listen when someone spoke as though their story mattered. She showed me what love looked like when it was unconditional, when it was selfless. And though I didn't know it then, she was giving me the very foundation of who I would become. By the time I turned 18, the fragile balance of my family shifted. I had just graduated high school in Greenville and was looking forward to one last summer with Hazel before college. One evening, my parents called me into the living room. They were glowing with excitement, an expression I rarely saw. "Calvin," my father said, "we're planning a big family trip. Europe, Paris, Rome, London. Once in a lifetime. My heart nearly burst. I had never left the country, and the thought of standing with my grandmother at the Eiffel Tower, it felt like a dream. My mother added, Aunt Paula, Uncle Leon, Isabel, and James will come too. And, of course, your grandmother. I imagined Hazel on a gondola in Venice, her laughter echoing on the canals, or smiling at the Colosseum, telling stories about history. It felt like the family, fractured as it was, might come together again, if only for her. But later that night, I overheard something that chilled me. The trip was expensive. My mother's voice, careful, said, Hazel still has her savings. From her nursing years. She'll want to help. It's for the family. Something in me recoiled. Hazel had worked her entire life, scraping every dollar from sleepless nights and sacrifices. Why should she fund this trip? But I brushed it away. Maybe she wanted to. Maybe it was her way of being part of something bigger with us. I didn't see the trap being laid. The weeks before the trip felt strange. My father began calling Hazel more often. How are you feeling, Mom? Eating well? His voice was sweet, but I'd never heard it sound so rehearsed. Paula called too, sending gifts. Isabel and James even piped into the group chat, talking about London shopping. Hazel seemed surprised by the attention, even shy about it. She told me one day, They've been so kind lately, Calvin. Maybe this trip really is going to bring us together. But in her eyes, I saw a flicker of doubt. One weekend, everyone descended on her small house in Toma. My father, my mother, Paula, Leon, Isabel, James, me, all crammed into her wooden home. They laughed louder than usual, complimented her cooking, told her she deserved the trip. It was like watching a play, everyone reading lines from the same script. Hazel sat quietly, folding the hem of her sweater. She whispered, I'm old, Gordon. My health isn't good. I don't think I can handle such a long trip. But my father pressed on, painting pictures of Paris nights and London streets. Paula chimed in, her voice dripping with charm. Mom, you've worked your whole life. You deserve this. I sat silently, hoping she would say yes. I wanted her to be happy. Finally, she looked at me, her eyes searching mine. If Calvin wants me to go, then I'll go, she said softly. I hugged her, promising, Please, Grandma, I'll take care of you. I didn't know then that I was pushing her into betrayal. The next day, as I passed my parents' room, I froze. My mother's voice, low but sharp. She transferred the money. All of it. 35,000. All her savings. Everything she had ever put aside. I stood outside the door, my chest tight, every nerve screaming to burst in and demand answers. But I didn't. I told myself it was for the trip, that it would make her happy, that she had chosen it. But unease lingered like a thorn under the skin. The morning of our departure came like a celebration. Suitcases were stacked by the door. My father double-checked the passports. My mother smiled more than usual. Even I felt the buzz. A strange hope that maybe, just maybe, this trip would stitch our family together. Hazel arrived at our house the night before. She had taken the bus from Toma, her green suitcase in hand. It was old, with scuffed corners, the kind people used in the 70s. I went to lift it, expecting it to be heavy. It was almost empty. Grandma, didn't you pack anything? I asked, half joking. She chuckled. I'm old, Calvin. Don't need much. Having you is enough. That night, she slept on an inflatable mattress in our living room. I stayed beside her. She told me stories about the hospital, about slipping candies to kids in the pediatric ward, about sneaking bites of bread during night shifts. I fell asleep listening to her voice, convinced tomorrow would be the start of her happiest days. We drove 3 hours to Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. My parents chatted and laughed in the front seat. Hazel sat quietly, her hands folded tight, staring out the window. I reached over and squeezed her hand. Don't worry, Grandma. This is going to be fun. She gave me a weak smile. Inside the terminal, the family was already waiting. Paula wore a bright red coat. Leon strutted in sunglasses. Isabel and James scrolled through their phones, barely glancing up. We rolled our luggage toward the check-in counter. The air smelled of coffee, and announcements echoed overhead. I stood beside Hazel, imagining us boarding together, imagining her face lighting up when she saw Paris. But then something felt wrong. My father leaned over the counter, his voice sharp. My mother's posture stiffened. Paula and Leon whispered, their eyes avoiding Grandma. Hazel tugged my sleeve. Calvin, where's my ticket? I froze. My father turned, his face red. Mom, your ticket wasn't confirmed. There's a system issue. What? My voice cracked. That's impossible. This trip has been planned for months. Calvin, calm down. My mother snapped. It's just a mistake. We'll fix it later. Hazel stepped forward, her voice trembling but steady. Gordon, tell me the truth. Did you ever book me a ticket? The silence was worse than words. My father glanced at my mother, then sighed. Mom, you're old. Your health isn't good. A trip like this isn't practical. Stay home and rest. We'll take you somewhere closer next time. The words hit me like a punch. Stay home. Next time. Hazel's hands shook on her suitcase. She looked at them one by one, her son, her daughter, her grandchildren. None of them met her eyes. She paid for this trip. I shouted. My voice echoed, drawing stares. How could you do this to her? My mother hissed. Stop, Calvin. This is adult business. And in that moment, everything snapped into focus. The calls, the gifts, the fake affection. It had all been a performance. They never planned to take her. They only wanted her money. I turned to Hazel. Her face was pale, but her dignity remained. She didn't cry. Grandma, I'm not going, I said. I'm staying with you. Her eyes glistened. Calvin, don't throw away this chance because of me. But I shook my head. No, Grandma, I won't leave you. Not ever. My father's voice went cold as steel. Fine, stay with her. Figure it out yourselves. Paula added with a sneer, You're childish, Calvin. You're ruining everything. And just like that, they turned away. Suitcases rolling, laughter resuming. They walked toward the gate as though nothing had happened. Hazel stood frozen, eyes vacant, as though decades of hope had crumbled in a single moment. I wrapped my arm around her trembling shoulders. Come on, Grandma. Let's go home. The taxi back to Toma was silent. The highway stretched endlessly, headlights flashing past. Hazel stared out the window, her reflection faint in the glass. Halfway through the drive, her voice broke the silence. Is it because I'm poor, Calvin? Because I'm old? Is that why they didn't want me? Her words stabbed me like knives. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her she was the most wonderful person in the world. But all I could do was squeeze her hand. No, Grandma. It's not you. It's them. They don't deserve you. She nodded faintly, but I knew she didn't believe me. When we reached her wooden house, she sat in her armchair, holding the family photo frame. Her eyes lingered on the faces. My father, Paula, her grandchildren. Faces that now felt like strangers. Grandma, I whispered, kneeling beside her. I won't let them hurt you again. Promise. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, anger burning in my chest, hearing my father's cold words echoing. Figure it out yourselves. The next morning, I stood on Hazel's porch, the marigolds swaying in the summer breeze. My phone was heavy in my hand. I knew what I had to do. I searched until I found it. Adult Protective Services. A hotline for elder abuse. My heart raced as I dialed. Adult Protective Services, this is Dorian Hale. How can I help you? I took a deep breath. My name is Calvin Draper. I need to report financial abuse against my grandmother. I told him everything, the trip, the savings, the betrayal at the airport. Do you have proof of the transfer? Dorian asked. Yes. Any witnesses? Yes. An airline employee. He was silent for a moment, then said firmly, Calvin, you did the right thing calling. Bring us the evidence. We'll investigate. When I hung up, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. I was about to go to war, not with strangers but with my own family. The following days were a blur of determination. At the bank, Martha, a teller who had known Hazel for years, listened with wide eyes. Hazel? Abused? By her own children? She said, her voice trembling. She's the kindest woman I know. She helped us pull bank statements. There it was, a $35,000 transfer to my father's account. At the airport, I called Holly, the employee who had seen us that day. She remembered clearly. I saw her standing there, confused, Holly said. Her son told her she couldn't travel because of her health, but it felt wrong. She looked heartbroken. She agreed to testify if needed. Hazel herself signed an affidavit, her hands trembling. I was asked to contribute my savings for a family trip. I was excluded and left behind. We delivered everything to Dorian. He flipped through the documents with sharp eyes. We have grounds for a case, he said finally. Calvin, you've done right, but it won't be easy. Are you ready? I looked at Hazel, her frail hand in mine, and nodded. Yes, for her, I'm ready. 3 weeks later, my parents and Aunt Paula returned from Europe. I stood in the arrival hall of Atlanta Airport, hidden in the crowd, my phone recording in my hand. They appeared laughing, their luggage decorated with stickers from Paris, Rome, and London. My father wore sunglasses, strutting like a tourist. Paula clutched shopping bags. Isabel and James scrolled through photos on their phones, showing off selfies in front of the Eiffel Tower. Then Dorian Hale stepped forward, tall and calm, a folder in his hand. Mr. Gordon Draper, Mrs. Janelle Draper, Mrs. Paula Mallister, Mr. Leon Mallister, he said. You are being served summons for financial exploitation of Hazel Draper. The laughter drained from their faces. What? My father barked. This is absurd. Paula hissed. Hazel dares to sue us? I stepped out from the crowd, my voice cold. No, it wasn't Grandma. It was me. I reported you. They froze. My father's face flushed red. You betrayed your family for this? He spat. You betrayed her first. I shot back. You stole everything she had. You abandoned her like she was nothing. My mother's voice cracked, sharp with panic. Calvin, stop this nonsense. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. You showed me what family means to you. Now I'll show you what it means to me. I turned and walked away, leaving them speechless under the weight of their own shame. Hazel refused to attend the hearing. I can't bear to see them, she whispered. You go, Calvin. You speak for me. So I went, carrying the folder of evidence. The courtroom was small but heavy with tension. My parents sat on one side with Paula and Leon, their lawyer between them. On my side sat Dorian, calm and steady. The judge, a stern woman with sharp eyes, struck her gavel. Court is now in session. Dorian stood. Your Honor, the defendants deceived Mrs. Hazel Draper into transferring her life savings, over $35,000, under the pretense of a family trip. They then excluded her at the airport, abandoning her while they traveled abroad. Their lawyer rose with confidence. Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. Mrs. Draper voluntarily gifted this money to her children. It was generosity, not abuse. Here, I have a signed family agreement. He waved a paper. My stomach churned. An agreement, a lie dressed as legitimacy. Dorian didn't flinch. He laid out the bank statements, Hazel's affidavit, Holly's testimony, my account. Piece by piece, the truth cut through their defense. Then it was my turn. I walked to the stand, my knees weak but my heart burning. I told the story, the sudden sweetness of their calls, the pressure on Hazel, the suitcase at the airport. I repeated her words, the ones that haunted me. Is it because I'm poor? Because I'm outdated? They stole her life's work, I said, my voice trembling. Money she earned through sleepless nights and skipped meals. They lied to her, and when she was most vulnerable, they abandoned her. That's not family. That's betrayal. The courtroom was silent. The judge's eyes were sharp, but I thought I saw them soften slightly. She delivered the verdict. The court finds sufficient evidence of financial exploitation. The defendants are ordered to repay $35,000 to Hazel Draper. This abuse will be entered into state records. Furthermore, the defendants are stripped of inheritance and guardianship rights over Mrs. Draper. The gavel slammed. My father jumped to his feet, shouting. Paula burst into tears. Leon cursed. My mother sat motionless, her head bowed. I didn't feel victory, only sorrow. But at least justice had been done. When the money was returned, Hazel pushed it toward me. This is yours, Calvin. I don't need it. Having you is enough. I stayed in Toma. I studied pre-med at the community college. Hazel encouraged me every step of the way. You'll be a better healer than I ever was, she told me, her eyes sparkling. We joined a painting class at the community center. At first, she was hesitant. I haven't painted since nursing school, back when I drew heart diagrams. But soon she was sketching rolling hills and flowers. She laughed when her bird looked like a potato, and I laughed too. For the first time in years, she looked lighter. I volunteered at the hospital she had once worked at, pushing wheelchairs, sitting with patients, listening. Every time I walked those halls, I felt like I was following in her footsteps. Her lessons echoed in my mind. Sometimes patients don't need medicine. They just need someone to listen. But in my second year of medical school, Hazel grew weaker. Cough lingered. Fatigue slowed her steps. The diagnosis, late-stage lung cancer. I begged her to try treatment. She shook her head. No, Calvin. I don't want machines. I want to be home. Tears burned my eyes. You're never a burden. You're the reason I'm here. She smiled softly, brushing my cheek. Then promise me you'll keep going. I promised. I took leave to care for her. We painted, baked cookies, sat by the window as marigolds swayed in the breeze. She told me stories she had never shared before. Of her dreams, her fears, her sacrifices. The day of my graduation, I brought her my diploma. She lay in bed, frail but smiling. Grandma, I did it. I'm a doctor. I whispered, tears streaming. She gripped my hand. I'm proud of you, Calvin. You're my doctor. That night, she passed peacefully, the marigold painting above her bed. Her funeral was held at the little church in Toma. The pews overflowed. Neighbors, friends, patients she had once nursed. People brought paintings, stories, tears. My parents and Paula never came. Their silence was louder than words. But as I looked around, I realized Hazel had built a bigger family than them. This town, these people, me. She had given her love freely, and here it was reflected back. Later, I found letters under her bed. Unsent letters to me, written during my childhood summers. Calvin, you are my light. No matter how hard life gets, always do what's right. That's what makes you different. I cried reading them, but they became my compass. Today, I am a doctor at Toma Healthcare, walking the same halls she once did. Her marigold painting hangs in my office, reminding me of her. Every patient I treat, I hear her voice. Listen, Calvin. Sometimes listening is enough. I never contacted my parents or Paula again. They never reached for me either. I don't hate them, but I mourn what they chose. Hazel once said, if only they knew how to love truly. She was right, but she showed me what love is. Sacrifice without expectation, courage to protect the vulnerable, and an open heart even when the world is cruel. I lost my grandmother, but through her, I found the meaning of my life. Family isn't blood, it's love. Justice isn't easy, but it's worth fighting for. And love, real love, is what carries us forward. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, please like and subscribe. Cherish those who truly love you. Stand up for what's right. And live with the courage and heart my grandmother showed me every day.